Well, hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I am a regular dude walking in the Word. Hey, we are going through the book of Numbers here, and we're in this section today. We're in this next several days here in chapter 11. And chapter 11, I'm kind of camping at here for a bit and spending some time in chapter 11 because there are some application points that we can apply to our lives that really apply to us. And I wanted to spend some time breaking those down. Yesterday we talked about I'm not satisfied, and we had spent time talking about how the children of Israel, they weren't satisfied. If they would have been satisfied with just the manna, their life would have been a whole lot better. But instead they wanted the food they had back in Egypt, which was really just the condiments. It wasn't like substantial food, but the manna had all the nutritional value to it. And then today we're talking about it's asking for what God does not want to give you. That's kind of a complicated title, but it's asking from God what God doesn't want to give you. All right. If a child asks me, if one of my children asks me, hey, you know what? I want the space shuttle. I'm like, that's not the best thing for you to have is the space shuttle or rocket ship, because you don't know how to drive the rocket ship or the space shuttle, and you're going to get yourself killed. All right, not the best thing. But still, the child continues to ask me for this rocket ship or the space shuttle, and then finally, me being the wise parent I am, I'm never going to give it to them. But then there's times that I will give them something just so they learn that's not the best choice. Okay, and God does that with us. He will sometimes give us what we've been asking for, and it doesn't turn out real great. And this is what happens today in this story here. I'm going to be reading the exact same passage I read yesterday. Normally I read from the New International Version. Today I'm going to be reading from the New Living Translation. Because in that translation, that paraphrase really, there's some measurements that we talked about yesterday, and I had forgotten what like an omer was equal to or what a cubit was equal to. We don't go around talking like that today. But in the New Living paraphrase, it gives those measurements of what we actually use today. And when you see that, you're going to be amazed, like, wow, that's a huge amount. So let's read here today. This is going to be taken from Numbers chapter 11, verses 4 through 15, and then also 31 to 35. Okay? It says this, then the foreign rabble who was traveling with the Israelites began to crave the good things of Egypt. Well, yeah, the good things of Egypt. They sure weren't craving the slavery, but they were craving the condiments. And the people of Israel began to complain. Oh, for some meat, they exclaimed. We remember the fish we used to eat for free in Egypt, and we had all the cucumbers, melons, leeks, and onions, and garlic we wanted. But now our appetites are gone. All we ever see is this manna. All right. Again, it's all condiments. You'd never make a meal out of onions, except for the fish. And the fish is not practical to find fish out in the desert. Okay. Of course, they're going to have fish along the Nile River, but not along in the desert. All right. So verse 7, the manna, and this describes what manna is, looked like small coriander seeds, and it was pale yellow like gum resin. The people would go out and gather it from the ground. They made flour by grinding it with hand mills or pounding it into in a mortar. Then they boiled it in a pot and made it into flat cakes. These cakes tasted like pastries baked with olive oil, and the manna came down on the camp with the dew during the night. Okay, basically it's free food. It's coming down with the dew every night. All right, and so let's move on here to the next, where we're stopping there, and we're moving on to what happens at the end of that story. So they're complaining about that. I'm sorry. We need to keep reading here. Moses heard all the family standing in the doorways of their tents within, wailing, and the Lord became extremely angry. Moses was also aggravated. And Moses said to the Lord, why are you treating me, your servant, so harshly? Have mercy on me. What did I do to deserve this burden of these people? Did I give birth to them? Did I bring them into the world? Why did you tell me to carry them in my arms, like a mother carries a nursing baby? How can I carry them in this land you swore to give your ancestors? Where am I supposed to get the meat for all these people? They keep whining to me, saying, give us meat to eat. I can't carry these people all by myself. The load is too heavy for me. If this is how you intend to treat me, just go ahead and kill me. Do me a favor and spare me this misery. Okay. Moses isn't happy about the whole situation, and he's sick of it. Now, let's skip on over to the end of the story. There's a little separate story that takes place in the middle, and we're going to deal with that tomorrow. Now, verse 31. Now the Lord sent a wind that brought quail from the sea and let them fall all around the camp. For miles in every direction, there was quail flying about 3 feet off the ground. Okay, so these quail are flying about 3 feet off the ground. You could take your baseball bat or whatever and just whack them. You could probably just reach out and strangle them. Just reach out and get them. And they're just flying at the prime catching height. So the people went out and caught quail all that day and throughout the night. That's a lot of time you're just out catching quail. And all the next day too. No one gathered less than 50 bushels. Okay, so yesterday when I read through it, it gave like homers. And so here it's saying no one gathered less than 50 bushels. Bushels is, a basket. You have a bushel basket. So the least person, the person that had the least, had 50 baskets full of this quail. And they would lay it out and dry it. They didn't have refrigeration and stuff, so you'd lay it out and dry it and use it as quail jerky or whatever. So they spread the quail all around the camp to dry. But while they were gorging themselves on the meat, while it was still in their mouths, the anger of the Lord blazed against the people, and he struck them down with a severe plague. So the place was called Kibroth Hattaavah, which means graves of gluttony, because they were buried the people who had craved meat from Egypt. From Kibroth Hattaavah, the Israelites traveled to Hazeroth, where they stayed for some time. All right. Now, the whole point of this is this. These people were asking God to give them more. They weren't satisfied. And so they were asking God for more. And God in his intimate wisdom was like, the manna should be enough. I made it, nutritious, and it should be enough. But no, you want this other stuff. So he gave them that other stuff. Well, they got sick on it. And then some of them, got the plague too also. But God was saying too, you're going to get sick of this quail. And he gave them so much of that quail. And we had talked about it yesterday where, you have like a Snickers candy bar. Well, one of those candy bars is good. And you're like, well, if I really love a Snickers candy bar, I should love like 3 of them. And then you have 3 of them and you're like, oh man, I don't feel so good. And you get sick from that. And you don't want to see another Snickers candy bar. The next day, someone goes, hey, I got this Snickers candy bar. You want it? You go, no, thank you. I had 3 of them yesterday, and that will do me for like 2 years here. You need to rely on on God's wisdom and what he thinks is best for you. And so your prayer should be, Lord, may you give me the things that I need and the things that you think are best for me. It's wrong for me to start naming things. I can name things, but for me to insist on those things if it's not in God's will. Okay, so we talked about asking God for the Corvette. The Corvette's not a practical thing for me to have, and God knows in his wisdom the Corvette's not the best option for me right now. So I need to trust God that he knows what's best for me, and let him take care of me. And that's what the problem we saw with the Israelites, and that's the thing that is happening today. We're not trusting God for him to take care of us and to think what is best for us. We try and think it through on our own and try and think ourselves better than God. Don't let that happen to you. Hey, I'm a regular dude walking in the Word, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue our journey through the book of Numbers. Lord's blessing. I'll see you then.